Welcome to the Talented Investors That Share podcast.
You're really going with that? That's the name? Have you figured out what it spells?
All right, welcome to Talented Investors That Share. My name is Adam New. Today we have with us Brandon Besci, subject matter expert on all things subject 8, single family. I think there's some Bitcoin in there. Yeah. Crypto.
Not really crypto.
Okay.
I like equities.
Okay, there you go. So one of our good friends and just expert in all things and all around good guy. So we're excited to have you here, Brandon. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
And we're excited to chat with you today. So for those that have no idea who you are and just learned how to pronounce your name 5 seconds ago, what is it that you primarily focus on?
I do single family houses, mostly, Virginia, North Carolina. I would say C class, B minus, houses, single story, built in 1945 and above, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,100 square foot and smaller. That's what I do. Okay. Mostly rental properties. I do some more fix and flips, wholesales, but primarily it's been single family housing.
And is it primarily Section 8? Because I know you've been an advocate for Section 8 in the past. So is that typically, that's your go-to?
Yeah, I would say most of my properties are not through Section 8, but they all, okay. So most people don't think this. All houses can qualify for Section 8. It's really just the voucher. Mm-hmm. Most of my portfolio is just rented traditionally. Okay. But we do a lot of Section 8 just because the areas, I guess, and the price points. Most of my rents are $1,100 to $1,300. Okay. Where that's where people can afford versus a $2,500 a month. Okay. The vouchers really won't carry that.
And I would also add that just from hearing you speak before, a lot of your passion is in affordable housing.
Yeah, yes.
Which I know is can be a dirty word, but also because it's also misleading sometimes. So people define affordable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, I really like there's, obviously we just went through an epidemic with COVID and all that stuff, but we're in a housing epidemic as well and have been for a long time. And what's sad is, a working class family or maybe somebody that works full time at, maybe you work at a grocery store, maybe work at Lowe's. It doesn't matter. You just have a traditional job, an hourly job that I used to have and stuff too, is that can't afford a house, and that's really what, the problem is. And then, I'm definitely have a passion on and they're not building. That's the big thing is they're not producing any of the affordable housing. We're in the Richmond, Virginia area. They're only building, $400,000, $500,000 houses and above. Yeah. When's the last time they built a 3-bedroom, 1-bath brick rancher that somebody could really afford? They're not, those are gone. Yeah. So, I call them dinosaurs. That's what I deal in a lot. Those houses that they're going away. We, one of the things we acquire them, they're really good for the cash flow really well. Their liquidity is really good to buy and sell them. And plus just being able to keep up with providing affordable housing stock is good. So
very cool. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's start with sort of your start in real estate. What was your first deal looking like? How long ago was this? Because you've got that ambiguous. You could be 25 or you could be 45. Nobody has any idea.
I'm 39. Yeah, I got So I've been self-employed most of my life. I've had a few traditional jobs. But I used to own an appliance business. Used to own a delivery company, thrift store, auction company, all this stuff. And I'd always bump into people that seemed to be doing pretty well. Mm-hmm. And they were always in real estate and they weren't the smartest people. Right. They were just people. And I was like, man, but they're in real estate. They own houses. Or in my appliance business, they would always buy appliances from me. I'm like, oh, this is, one of my whatever. And I'm like, dude, this guy's not, that's,
So pro tip for everybody at home, meet real estate investors and then you'll realize you can do it too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yes, all the above. But so there was something there. And I was, it's kind of the same old story of back then I was doing 3 different things and 3 different things kind of poorly. So I needed to jump in all one thing. So I went out and bought 2 houses, cash, rental property. And I was like, okay, boom, buy these 2 houses. And they were in Petersburg. And because I bought my first house for like $35,000. I bought the house next door to it for $15,000. And I was like, wow, this is great. But then most of my cash was deployed. And I was like, well, how do these people have more houses? And then you learn about leverage and private capital. And that's how it started. So
early on, did you find raising capital difficult?
So I didn't actually know anything about raising capital in the in traditional sense until maybe the last 2 or 3 years from now. I mean,
it's hard money.
It's never been hard for me to raise capital,
okay.
And I think it goes because I'm passionate about it. Like I care about the housing. I care about the people too. Like I have a team. We have tenants, and like my number one thing is like you ask anybody on my team or anything is like we all go home tonight. Everybody goes home. Most of us everybody on my team's married, has kids. Like what we do absolutely matters. The money matters, but the people matter first. Mm-hmm. So like, I think that's what comes across in a lot of what I do. So it's always, it's never been hard for me to explain what I'm passionate about, what I'm doing, especially in housing and raise capital. So it's been easy for me. It's not always easy, but it's been generally easy.
So first couple of deals, like so did you buy your first deal in cash?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a partner and I still have the same partner in one of my portfolios. I have a couple of different portfolios. And I basically, I was running these businesses and I knew he wanted to get into real estate, but he didn't really maybe wasn't as outgoing as I am or like had the business. He had a traditional job, but had a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey man, you want to be involved? Let's get involved in some houses. So we partnered up, we used his capital and some of my capital as well, and then bought these houses cash. And then we were sitting literally looking at 2 houses going, wow, this is cool. We're landlords, but how do we scale? What is this?
Right, exactly. Now we have 2. Okay. And what were those price points?
First one was $35,000 in Petersburg, Virginia. Okay. And then I bought the house next door for $15,000.
All right. And so how much were you putting into them at the time?
Maybe only like 10 grand. And so I also used to be a contractor. So like I said, I did a bunch of things. I'm pretty good with construction. My grandfather was from Brazil. So he taught me a lot about like construction, how to use tools and be resourceful. So
you did most of the rehab yourself?
I would say yeah. Managed it or did a lot. It didn't need a lot. Both the first 2 properties we bought really didn't need a lot.
Gotcha. Come across a lot of $15,000 doesn't need a lot anymore?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, so another thing of what I like specialize in is in properties, like when we acquire properties that 25,000 and less of rehab. And I specifically like, because we do a lot of like Class C housing, Section 8 stuff, we don't do things like dishwashers, ceiling fans, screen doors, a lot of like the extra stuff that breaks. Mm-hmm. We don't do a lot of carpet. So a lot of the houses we buy have solid wood floors. Mm-hmm. So like you can spend as much as you want into a property.
Right. Yeah.
But we always do it like bare bones that's safe and clean and that also keeps me a good peace of mind because, tenants break the rules all the time. And if they, we have a no pet policy, but ironically, there's 3 dogs living in the house and they destroy something. It's not the end of the world because we didn't put so much money into it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I've seen you speak before where you talk about sort of the things that because of the price point, both for where you're purchasing them, the amount you intend to rehab, and also what you're renting them for, that you tend to say, let's hold off on certain things. You just mentioned dishwasher, you just mentioned ceiling fans. At $2,800 a month, like that would be kind of a given that those are included.
Absolutely.
But the price point that you're playing at is going to be in the low teens for renting, or?
Yeah, I would say the average, if you had to really average, probably like $1,250 a month.
Okay. So $1,250 a month in. So for somebody that's getting into that space and they're thinking, okay, I want to make it look nice. What are you holding back on because of experience? What is that like? What has your experience taught you should not be included in a home?
The first thing is washer and dryer.
Okay.
Do not. I mean, I would even be skeptical at any price point to provide laundry.
Okay.
Just because the first house, that first one I told you that I bought in Petersburg, We provide, we want to do right by people. I want to give them, the tenants, a washer, dryer, a dishwasher,
Sure.
but that's not, what happened. They put a pillow in the washer and exploded, and like our washer doesn't work. And then like, okay. And they put a pillow in it. And then really who's responsible for that?
Right.
9 times out of 10, they don't have the money to replace the washer themselves. They just don't have it. So we end up replacing it. It's this whole thing. It's a lot easier just to not provide it. Or we've heard other operators like do rent. Some people rent them.
Yeah.
They say, hey, or they give it to them and say, hey, pay X amount up front and this is yours now. So like if it breaks,
okay,
it's yours. I've seen that too, like part of deposits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We know somebody that, I don't do this, but we know people in our circles that actually don't provide refrigerators sometimes. And that's pretty wild.
Interesting wow.
All houses except Section 8. So Section 8, you have to provide a refrigerator.
Okay.
But there's people that which is there's only one in particular. It's really funny. I love him. He's a good buddy of mine, but it's just funny that you don't have to provide any of that stuff.
Yeah. Be interesting from a advertising. I imagine if they're rented out, they're rented out. But yeah, that's interesting that they would have to come to the table with their own fridge. I would never imagine to do something like that. But I get dishwasher, right? Because it's something that can easily break. It's something
kids stand on it. They're all made out of plastic and they're pretty expensive. I mean,
so dishwasher, you said ceiling fans, you said screen doors or storm doors, either one.
Yeah, we take them off. Like you take, because like screen rips, all the things in the world. And then they call, it's a service request. And then, I would say one of the biggest misconceptions about landlords or people that have rental property is, like, yeah, you make money per door, but like, okay, let's say you net $200 to $400 a month per door. Right. And then, $8,000 HVAC goes out. Well, how many months and years of profit that is?
Right.
So like we try to minimize, service call. So I kind of run a construction company in tandem with, it's one of my, it's what do you call it? Vertically integrated. So I have my own construction company that does a lot of our own rehabs, and we charge my own portfolio. Like, I think a minimum charge is $135. Mm-hmm. So if somebody rips a screen on a door or whatever, it's $135.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
so we minimize all that stuff.
Right. It's something that we dealt with in ourselves, was just like, well, it's already here, so it'll just continue to be there. It's like, it's really just it's no different than wallpaper. It's not necessary. Like, right. Screened in porch. It's not really a screened in porch. Screened in door.
Yeah.
Screened door is not necessary.
It's a luxury, and it's all price points though. Like, and it's, and then it is what it is, our houses a lot of times workforce housing, we kind of know that, they're in good neighborhoods, but not necessarily the best neighborhoods. Right. Sure. So, you're going to have those things sometimes, most of our tenants all have, not all, but a lot of them, there's a lot of kids in the house and stuff like that. So I have kids, the kids tear stuff up.
They do.
And it's more of almost a peace of mind thing too, because so many property owners and stuff like that, they're in our circle, people fail in real estate a lot because they get frustrated or they get like mad. Oh, they do this big rehab, make this house all pretty, and they can't believe somebody would break the screen door or do something or kick in the dishwasher. And that stuff happens all the time. So we try to minimize all that stuff. So if it happens, it's like, as long as nobody's hurt, like that's the thing. It's like anybody's hurt. As long as like no one's hurt, I kind of don't care.
Yeah. I guess
within reason.
Yeah. I remember we rented a beach house in Nags Head back in the day. And like we were doing water balloons. And then like next thing you know, we're throwing them through the screens. And then I just remember my dad coming out and just, oh man, so mad. Cause he's just like, I have to go to Home Depot now.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta go buy a screen. I gotta get tools. I gotta do whatever. Like, I gotta put all this back together because it's like, otherwise I'm gonna pay this guy $3,000 to redo the screens in here.
Yeah.
Because you guys threw water balloons. You're just like, it's, we weren't bad kids. We were just 5 seconds.
That's what I mean. And all kids are all kids are the same. They mean well. There's nothing.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times is nothing malicious. It's just people being people, or like things happen. That's all it is. Yeah. And then, we don't make a ton of money per house per month. Right. As most of your wealth is built with rental properties, is debt pay down and appreciation.
Sure.
And built-in equity. We try to buy properties with already trapped equity. 60% on the dollar, 70% on the dollar type stuff.
So you bought those first two how long ago?
8 years ago.
8 years ago. How long did it take you before you bought your third?
It's a great question. Probably it was a couple years. Like,
okay.
cause I was still doing the construction thing. I had like the construction business, and I think I had the auction business at the time. So yeah, it was probably a couple years. And then we met, networked more.
Mhm.
So we met through networking and stuff
Yeah.
like that locally. Like I didn't even know about any of this stuff. Like literally I was just like head in the sand, just like I'm a business person. I actually met Joel. That's why I was involved with their church. I was on their board and like a consultant. And I met Joel. Like Joel walked in, he's like, "Oh, what are you going to do?" It's like, "I'm going to go buy a house today." "Oh, how much is it?" "Oh, it's $15,000. I was like, "You're not buying a house for 15 grand. He's like, "Yeah, I am." And that's how I got into real estate. Like I was like, okay, I got 15 grand, or so
You've got my attention. 15.
yeah,
grand?
that's literally how it started.
Yeah. I am and Joel. So it's Joel, is that Joel McReynolds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool guy. Yeah. And I've been following him. Like he's now in the multifamily space. And
Yeah,
all that
he's
other
killing
stuff.
it. Yeah, he's. I mean,
done a ton of rehabs. Really cool guy. All right. So you bought your third, you said about 18 months, 2 years later.
sure. Yeah, let's say 2 years.
And was that also cash or was that private money?
It's a great question. I think I don't even know what our third house would be. I think it was probably private capital.
Okay.
I think because I learned that we had to do something, like it was definitely not our money. Like we used our money maybe for a down payment, but I think it was private capital.
And then you were just refinancing.
Yeah, mostly burn out, and that's the other thing is like in a lot of those like Class C markets, I do in Petersburg, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. The burr still works, and it's 2025 right now. Like a lot of times the burr doesn't work in traditional markets where people are leaving. It's nothing to leave 20, 30, 40 grand in a deal.
Trust me, I'm writing those checks.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like,
yeah, it's not fun.
No, it hurts. I mean, well, it's not that you don't lose the money because it's trapped equity, but like, it's hard to do that at scale.
Right.
So
exactly.
At those markets, and I'm trained. I mean, I'm learning stuff. I will operate and always continue to operate in those C and B minus areas, but I'm slowly starting to acquire or like look into better areas, not necessarily like the A class areas, but like, B minus B areas, starting to diversify a little bit. So,
So what is it that, besides price point, what is it that continued to draw you to Petersburg? Because there are so many, and I have to hand this to you because this is something you have been a defender of Petersburg. You've been a defender of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Like that, you are Captain America of those two cities where you're just basically, I mean, I guess cities is being generous.
It is a city.
Yeah. It almost lost it.
Yeah.
It almost lost it. They almost just said no.
Yeah.
But those two areas specifically, because Petersburg's kind of generally can kind of go out in the suburbs of multiple counties.
Sure.
And then Rocky Mount, same thing. It's a little bit rural, a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've been an advocate for them for a while. What continues to draw you out there? Whereas I'm seeing a lot of other people that are just saying like, "Oh, I tried that and it's just not for me." Do you think you're just tougher than them, or you just think your expectations of people in neighborhoods are more reasonable?
I would say what gives me an advantage personally, and this is like an interesting part or backstory, is I used to be in urban ministry, and that's how I mentioned I was involved with Joel's church, her family's church and stuff like that. So I was used to dealing in like, we used to go to the projects a lot. I used to used to be used to around urban areas and like Class C areas and project communities and stuff like that. And a lot of those like Petersburg, especially 8 years ago, Petersburg's come a long way in the last couple years.
Huge.
I mean, they just approved the casino, 1.4 billion, Petersburg hotels opening up.
Is that a sure thing now?
Yeah, it is approved.
Okay.
It's approved, done. Like it took, but so a lot of people, I would say the vast majority of people off the street, you got to understand how to operate and move in certain environments. That's really what it is. And it really comes down to just being comfortable and respect, because like what it is like when you're in certain areas, go on certain streets or whatever. I mean, I've done this for years. These are people that have lived down there their whole lives.
Right.
And you're like, I might not look like I'm from Petersburg or something like that.
Right.
And like, you have to like, that might, they lived on the street their whole life. That's their grandmother's house, whatever. So you have to like give the respect and like, this is not your street.
Right.
It's their street.
Right.
You're just down here able to operate for whatever.
Right.
And then like, that's a big point. And like, and the other biggest thing is like, so with that, and then we're all equal as people. So like, you know, I think once it's like realize that they're just people too. So some people like, even like I'm dealing with even right now, like some serious issues with some very troubling tenants that are doing illicit activities.
Right.
But I'll go down there sometimes and I'll say, hey, what's up, man? Like, you know what I mean? Or like, you know, you just say what's up real quick or whatever. And like, you're just like person to person. It could be like a 3-second interaction,
Right.
Not like this mean mugging, like whatever combative posturing is what I'm getting at. So that's been giving me a leg up.
And I think I pretty much say this in every house that I go into, and depending on the audience, depends on how funny it is. But I will regularly say, just like, let me know if there's anything you don't want me to look in.
Yo, yeah.
I'm touring a house, like, let me know if there's any drawers or closets or, you know, rooms in particular. Usually if it's rooms, that's a pretty big red flag.
Yeah.
That you don't want me to go into. Second thing is, I'm not the police. So I don't care what's in this house. And the third thing is, my business is entirely based on discretion.
Yeah.
So like, don't worry. And they're like, okay, cool. And then you'd be amazed, like what I wasn't going to be allowed to see before. Then now all of a sudden they're like, so anyway, here's the grow room. And you're like, well, good news. That's legal now. And they're like, not this many. So you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, well, good news. Don't care.
Yeah.
So,
I've had some interesting capital like conversations, and I'm like, and even today, like I've had people reach out to me that are like, you know, I'm always raising capital, and like their primary business is grow operations. And I'm totally, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's not, but it's like, it's interesting when you're like, if I'm taking money, so I'm with you 100%. I have people adjacent to me that may or may not participate in things like that.
There are people on this street with a garage full of it.
Oh yeah. So I'm just saying that, but it's technically it's illegal federally still. So if you take in capital from a, you know, it's, you have to, and then you like, so it's, and I'm always thinking of my investors too. Like, it's like, okay, so if I take in, you know, $500,000 and then put it on like, and then took it in from, it's just you don't know how the
you don't really know. I guess if you don't really know, right? You know, you're not.
But when they email me from like blow so-and-so
smokesblunts420 at gmail.com.
No. And it's like linked to the company too.
Oh, okay.
No, it's from the company. Like,
yeah.
It's the owner of that business. Yeah, that's what
Adam at smokesblunts.com.
It's exactly
what
it is.
Okay, I got you.
Adam at And
right,
I'm like, okay. Well.
All right, so that's definitely a business. Okay, well, that's a little different. All
yeah,
right.
so that's, and it literally happened today. Like before.
Talk to your attorney. That's all I got. Talk to your attorney.
That's why I
Tip number 2 from him today. Just if you have any doubts, talk to your attorney. Make sure you're doing everything legit.
Yeah, that's pretty. It happened today, literally.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you've played in that space. You've been an advocate for that space. You think the urban ministry has done a lot for you as far as just feeling comfortable. And I think I would agree with that too. In that I hear so many people that are like, oh, you go downtown. And I'm like, well, first off, downtown in Richmond or downtown
that's changed a lot too.
Well, and that's a wide encompassing space. Some people will say like the bad part of downtown is like the arts district or like VCU or Carytown. And I'm like, you go 3 blocks and there's a $4 million house. Like it can't be but so bad. And I generally think like where people get confused sometimes is that they just see walking traffic and then that just scares them. And then it's because they don't have that in their own neighborhood. And so they're just like, why is that person walking? Well, because there's a bus stop 1 block that way. Like that's it. That's how they get to work. You just live in a different neighborhood. And so like you don't know what's off. But like your spidey sense is tingling, right? And then, you know, anytime somebody doesn't look like you, then all of a sudden that gets weird for people. But I would even say like in Richmond, there were only like 16 square blocks that I would be like, the general public doesn't belong here.
Yeah. And there's different ways, like, you know, I'll give you a little tip if you're operating in like, you know, maybe not the safest ish environments is, you know, I tell my team or like sometimes we have real estate agents we work with that are like petite little women, you know what I mean? And not, you know, and like, I'm like, hey, you should probably go down there in the morning. You know, if it's your first couple times or whatever, 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning before like, cause a lot of times illicit activity happens at night and people hang out.
Well, that's actually like the State Department will tell people like when you are like traveling from city to city on roads that tend to have roadblocks and things like Columbia, places like that, where they're like careful, but you have to travel along the coast. You can't go internal. They'll say like, get up at 3:30 in the morning, be like in your car at 4:30 because no one's out doing shenanigans.
Because
at 6 a.m. they went to bed at 4 a.m.
That literally is what it is. Yeah. They went to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and they get up. And the truth is, if you're not doing, this is the other secret about why it's not that big of a deal. You do have to be mindful,
right?
But in operating in certain areas, if you're not there if you're not part of that lifestyle, you really don't have much to worry about.
Right.
So like, if you're not doing illicit activities, buying and being there for things that you shouldn't be there legally, you're not
right.
worried about it.
You're waving at somebody. You're just, how you doing?
Yeah. You're just, nobody's, I wouldn't walk around with 3 Rolexes looking at your phone down. So somebody could maybe like, you could be a target, but you could be a target anywhere doing the short pump, or anywhere. But that's the thing is people, and it's been beneficial for me personally to understand that because it cuts out a lot of the competition.
Yeah. Well, and I've always said that, too, if you show up somewhere early in the morning and there's 4 military aged males just standing outside of one particular address. And if you come back at noon, they're there. And if you come back at 9 p.m., they're there. And if you roll by at 2 o'clock in the morning, if it's raining, they're there. If it's snowing, they're there. Like, there's something going on behind those doors.
Oh, yeah.
And they may have concerns with what you're doing 1, 2, 3 houses down from them. Next block over, they don't care.
Yeah.
Right. So like there's times like, and I've said even in our own experience, we've never really like been anywhere that we were like, except for like one time where we were like, we should not have bought this house. Like have not bought something we ended up wholesaling. And then like the next guy that bought it had all of his material stolen within 14 hours.
Yeah.
And so like, it was like one of those things where basically, and it wasn't because they wanted to steal his materials and resell them. They were just basically trying to make him aware they didn't particularly care for the beautification of that particular block.
Yeah.
And if everyone really thought about it, no one should have bought there. Like that, it's just that particular was a dead end street in a particular part of town, in a particular section of that part of town that everyone goes, oof. And it was like, don't do that. But somehow or another, like newbie investor Adam, just like,
yeah, no, I'm
there.
literally dealing with that. I mean, and as you get like a little bigger, you can absorb certain stuff. Like I'm literally dealing with the project now. It's the worst 2 duplexes that I've ever bought.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it's fine. You have to be able to weather. Like there's new construction literally going up next door across the street. And I bought that knowing it was a coin flip. So like, I knew it was either going to be totally fine in 2 or 3 months. And like, that's the rosy side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side is it's going to take a year to just weather the storm and just get kicked in the nuts every day for a year. But 5 years from now, I'm going to be thankful. Like they're great assets, like physically,
right.
And the city's on the up. But for a year, I'm going to have to just eat crap for a year.
Yeah.
But I bought that knowing that. And I got a discount on the front end. So like, I bought them for $30,000 each at a discount, knowing that there's a 50-50. And it looks like I get the kicked in the nuts option. So,
so what sort of challenges are you running into?
Inherited tenants that are literally like, selling illicit activities out of the front door. And it makes it tough because there's other tenants. And like, I think about the people all the time. Like, I don't judge people for like, I get all the things like particularly in Petersburg, there's not a lot of jobs right now. They're working on that, So like, it's not right, but I do understand the mindset of people that may buy or sell things that may be illicit because there's nowhere else to work and stuff like that. But then the other side of it is we have tenants literally in the same building that are like you have to,
I don't want to live next to this.
Yeah. Or you have to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not positive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the really biggest challenge is dealing with that. And unfortunately, most of the people, those inherited tenants, they're going to get evicted because everybody knows. They know, you just can't legally, or not, you can legally tell it to, but you can't go up. You want to talk to them person to person and be like, hey man, can we just not do this anymore? And what they're going to do is they're just going to keep doing
Just
it.
gonna hide it better.
Oh no, they don't even hide it.
Right.
I'll show you a video after that
Off the record.
That was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe
They don't
it.
even hide it. We have another little interesting thing. Learned about solar cellular cameras. Have you ever used those before?
I have not.
They're awesome.
Okay.
Amazon for they're like $100. You get them like $80.
Mhm.
Literally solar powered
Mhm.
cellular.
Okay.
You get security cameras.
It's like a Ring camera.
Yeah, but it's outside, power. You don't have to plug it in. You don't have to, and you can just set them up anywhere.
Gotcha.
So we've set them up at certain places and they don't even care. Like they unplugged it once, But at this point, they literally just like full send.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. One of the internships I did in college was for a law enforcement agency that had no issue putting cameras on telephone poles across the street from people's houses and just basically created a best of DVD of all of their interesting activities. And then would just roll them into the DA's office and hit play and be like, can we talk about this?
Yeah. I mean,
it's
it's sad. It's unfortunate. And I get more frustrated on the human level of like, I get it. It's frustrating because you want to just make the area safer but you're always going to have those.
I think it's cool though, because you are leaving a wake, right? Every time that you are upgrading the usage of a facility, like you are leaving a wake, and then like it becomes less and less comfortable for them to operate in those areas. I think for the most part, like I think that was the thing that I didn't necessarily look into early enough on was like, wait a minute, this is not a neighborhood that's for sale. Like every time you run across the street, we're like, this street is not for sale, period. But like the more you surround that area, and like you've worked for years now, we said 8 years buying and selling in Petersburg, buying and selling in Rocky Mount. The more activity that you're doing, like the better off it is. And so, which is something that tends to like, especially in the press, gets like really bad, like gentrification, like it's this terrible word. And it's like, so just so we're clear, you would prefer this to be a terrible neighborhood. It's not really the case.
Yeah. And what's sad, this is going to go like, this is almost counterproductive in a way of like what I do and we do in a way is what I see with the biggest saddest thing is like the reason why investors like ourselves and what I do acquire these properties is a lot of it's a lack of education in the like the families. So like grandma owns a house and owns it outright.
Sure.
And maybe it's in disrepair or something and it wants to sell it and people like us buy it, right? But what they could do is they could own or finance it to their son or sell it to someone in the family. But they don't understand and it is to the average person maybe that doesn't know much about the financing structure of housing. It is complicated, but it's really not that complicated where like, I wish that would happen more. Like I wish they would like people would sell or to their own family members and then keep housing in the family.
Right.
Because it does, a lot of times it doesn't cause a good cycle because, grandma, like I said, grandma's selling her house or whatever. And like, they just don't know how to do that. Like they think that, okay, I'm her son or whatever. I can't go to a bank and buy it because they won't give me a loan. Maybe my credit's not the great or whatever, but you can owner finance it or seller finance it to them.
Yeah.
I don't know. But going back on the gentrification, I mean, it's unfortunately it's necessary because the only other option would be like, I would prefer to see a lot of houses stay in the family because where do going back to the housing epidemic, and the neighborhoods I operate in, they're affordable houses, right? So then I come in and I buy them as an investor and I'm acquiring the affordable houses, but then where do those people go? Like the houses they're building, they could be renters again, right? So they could be, or, they're going to have to go into those like higher end apartments or houses, which is fine too, but they might not be able to afford it. I would prefer if there was education where they knew how to like keep the houses in the family. Is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's also like, especially if you grew up in a house and you're now 40, 50, 60 years old and like the deferred maintenance.
Oh, it's rough.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So like I always say like time and moisture are your two greatest enemies, right? And usually those go hand in hand. Right. The roof was starting to fail and maybe we'll fix it when we get our tax refund check or, whatever. Like there's usually some sort of at a later date in time, some sort of future wish. And then life happens. And so that money got diverted over here. So we didn't do it this year. And now the roof is leaking. It's like, okay, well, we kind of ignored it, or we put a bucket there, like kind of thing. Well, now we got mold. Now we got issues with, siding. Now we got stuff between the walls. Like, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's bugs or mice. And next thing you know, you're walking in there and it's like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And then just you're shaking out your clothes to make sure you're not carrying roaches physically on your person home with you. Those are wild. Like where you're just like, sometimes it's like people just stop seeing it because they've been around it. And what they say, like kind of like a best way to boil a frog is to like slowly turn up the temperature, like that kind of thing. Like it's just over time, 1 degree higher. And next thing you know, it's like, we got to get rid of this house.
And it goes back to exactly. And I think it goes back to an educational thing. And it's sad is because, the average American doesn't have an extra 20, 30, 40 grand that are living in these houses to fix those things.
Right.
So that's really what it is. A house is like, it's slow. The earth is slowly taking everything back.
Right.
So they're slowly, like what you said, roof leak. And then it's kind of like a cultural, like as American or just a thing where like what's the education part. Right. That's where it's sad is because the people end up getting in those situations because of whether it be American culture or just education or maybe not saving properly or having a sinking fund for things like that's what's sad. That's what I like get for, that's what I kind of like on the human level get like, I don't know. It's kind of sad sometimes because I wonder like, and I'm like, I made a video recently. There's a house, and this is literally happened last month. Mm-hmm. Bought a house in North Carolina, and I bought it for like $45,000, and it's a really nice house. Like it's nice for what it's like almost move-in ready. Yeah, it's like a 2-bedroom one, has an HVAC unit already. It's literally almost turnkey. Yeah, and I bought it on market actually, so it was listed on the MLS. Okay, and I made a video about it. Like, cause I do social media stuff and I made a video about it and I was like, oh, this is, showing this property we bought. Mm-hmm. And somebody commented on it like, hey, I that's my grandmother's house. And like, he was like in a nice way. He's like, oh, that's cool. Whatever. And I can tell that, or like, I don't know if it was her grandmother or mother's house or someone, but I could tell that like, I checked his profile out and not like, but I think he like, it would have been nice if he could have, why did I have to buy it? Why couldn't it like been sold? And it was $45,000. Like the payments on that could have been
truly affordable housing.
Oh, they could have been like, he could have paid. I'm just saying it looked like he maybe lived in an apartment. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with living in an apartment, by the way. I used to live in an apartment too. Is that it would have been nice to him to own his own house from his mom for $45,000 and figured out how to own or finance, where his payment could have been $300 a month, which is much cheaper than I'm sure the $1,200 a month he's paying for an apartment. And it's like the educational side of it.
Yeah. So you've learned a lot, and obviously, so you're seeing that there's that knowledge gap. What are some of the things that you'd wish you'd known sooner? So after 3, it looks like the dominoes started falling pretty quickly for you. You've built up, I would say, a sizable portfolio. You don't have to share details about that, but I would just say an impressive portfolio. And you've worked with partners, you've worked with private money, you've worked with hard money, and now you're getting into the capital raising space. What do you wish you'd known sooner? Like after 1 or 2, like right then you wish you'd known?
I wish I would have known more about private capital, and that like the vast majority of capital that I use in deals is just from normal people that like you see every day. Right. Like whether I don't really take money from family, which is because I don't want to do that. But your friends or your doctor friends or your brother's best friend or something that might have some money, or business owners, like, there's people that have money in their IRAs and savings. There's like, people are the banks is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. People are the banks. That's what I wish I understood earlier. And I'm working on, diving more into that now, is that like anything you want to do in real estate, you should definitely use banks if you want, traditional banks and stuff like that. But most people think like, oh, I can't get started in real estate because, I go to the bank and they're not going to, Chase Bank's not going to give me a $300,000 line of credit, but you could raise almost unlimited money from the people in your local community, just normal people.
Yeah. And that's something that would be a big takeaway, if you're listening to this and you're saying like, I'm worried about the money piece. This is going to sound counterintuitive, but like probably the easiest part is finding the money, right? It's the deal that's the hard.
I was going to say, the deal's the harder.
So with the deal, you have to decide like, am I marketing for it? Am I driving for dollars? Am I texting? Am I cold calling? Am I sending mail? Am I, doing TV ads, radio ads, Facebook, Google pay per click, like how and why and how much money? What's my budget and how long is my runway to figure it out, right? So that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And then you have the deal, and like all of a sudden you're like, well, oh gosh, where am I going to find the money for this? And it's like literally any meetup group. You can like go to Google and just say hard money lender near me. Like it's not hard, as long as you have a deal, right? You can't just be like, I'm going to buy this house for 99% of what it's listed for on MLS, and people will go for that. Like, so there's always a deal. And even in those instances, you theoretically could still do hard money or private money if you're willing to put enough down.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So you buy it down. That's really the thing. It's like finding the money piece is not difficult. Because now once you have the deal, that's what 100% of your brain becomes focused on. So then it's amazing how quickly you can get that done when like you now become obsessed with the concept of like, I got to get this thing funded.
Yeah, that's the fun part. It is kind of,
because all of a sudden it's just like, go. And you're like,
Yeah.
Okay. It becomes all consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You usually have what, like 10 days, 2 weeks to get it funded.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically up until closing. But
technically I guess you're right. Yeah.
As long as you're willing to, have a.
Actually, that happens a fair amount too. That's one of the, I could be better at that. I'm kind of notorious because I'll have deals. A lot of my deals are very similar. So I'll wait, like, I'm like, it's supposed to close in 6 days. And I'm like, I got to put some money on it. Like, send a couple emails out, and because it's the same deal. Like I've done,
right.
It's like another one,
right?
Yeah. It's the same cookie cutter,
right? Yeah.
But.
So don't wait till 6 days though. That's just pro tip.
No, don't do that.
I think probably that more speaks to the comfort that you have with your lenders, the comfort that you have with just, they know you're good for it, and reputation. If you didn't have that reputation, you would be on this stuff on day one, right? And I think it's also the experience and reputation plays a really long part into it. So the guys that you're sending this stuff to are like, yep, sounds good. Barely even glancing at it at this point, because this is the 30th, 50th, 60th deal you guys have done together, like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I noticed that's gotten easier over time too. So you wish you'd had money. You wish you'd figured out the private money piece earlier, because you feel like you would have started expanding.
Yeah, in short, the people are the banks.
Mm-hmm.
The just people are the banks. Yeah, that's one.
And then what else? So besides money, like from a growth perspective, like leading a team, because now how many when you say team, because that can be like, I'm a team of 4. So what is a team to you?
Basically the same, team of 4. Yeah, and that's what I'm really like 2020, like this year. I'm really focusing on, leveraging my team and growing the team and making the team better. Not necessarily more people per se. It might add 1 or 2 people, but it's more about like, and we've had similar-ish journeys where like, you do as much as you can by yourself, and you hit the ceiling. And you're like, there's only, X amount of hours in a day. Like you have to you have to bring on. There's no other option.
Right.
Stuff starts falling behind. That's what I've started to see. I'll have 8-10 projects going on, and like there literally is just not enough time in the day. And even though I think I can do everything, I physically can't.
Yeah. And
then you just have to, like, the only option is, and you get mentors, and that's the thing. And you realize they have teams, the ones that are the highest operators. And that's been my big thing, is really learning and watching other people that have high operating teams. That's been that's what my focus is on now.
Now, was that something that you witnessed locally, or that you just kind of watched what other people were doing nationwide?
I joined not locally.
Mm-hmm.
There are some local teams for sure. But mostly was outside of our market, just people that I gravitated to, join some mastermind type stuff, and just seeing how they run a team.
Any particular masterminds that you're a fan of that are sort of public and available?
Yeah. I mean, I like, Tim Brotz's mastermind, Legacy Family.
Okay.
I like them a lot. Tim's awesome. He does mostly multifamily stuff, but still, like, he was involved in single family.
Okay.
And I'm always biased to, he's out of the Charleston area a lot. So I like going down there.
Beautiful.
Yeah. There's a couple other, what is it? they're local here, but I think it's a great group. Was it Jim's? Is it Inner Circle?
Jim Ingersoll runs Inner Circle.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I think that's a great entry level one.
And that's nationwide.
Yeah. I was going to say
he's made it nationwide.
That's pound for pound, like, Tim's mastermind's a little, like, I guess it's significantly more expensive, but like that's for that particular thing. But like if you're newer or wanted to like that, Inner Circle is like very affordable. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of Richmond people are in it, but like there's a non-national. So those are the two that come to mind. Like there's a more expensive one that I mentioned and then like the cheaper one.
Yeah. And I think what I like about Jim's in particular, it's more monthly rather than like big upfront commitment. It's monthly, all different business sizes in there. And I would also say that Jim's events in general, so like Jim does Deal Maker and is that they're more broad spectrum. Right. So it's not like you're going to a multifamily weekend function, right? Where you're just like, this is all we're going to talk about. So if like you're thinking about Airbnb, keep it to yourself. We don't want to hear about it. Like, cause we're talking about this, right? Jim's tends to be like, there's somebody that's talking about long-term landlording, medium-term landlording, Airbnb, arbitrage, like someone that's talking in notes and private equity and funding and like all this, they're covering all the bases, construction, best practices. So like he tends to do some really good stuff. That's like, if you haven't quite figured out, and people will all the time make posts like, what do you suggest to a new person, whatever. And I'm like, go to an event that covers 15 topics and just see what excites you.
Yeah.
And preferably bring your spouse so that you don't come home looking like a maniacal idiot.
So that's what my spouse, that's how I look. I talk to my wife, when I talk to my wife about real estate, she looks at me like I'm an alien. It's a pro and con though. I actually prefer it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, you're married to a real estate spouse. Yes. Right. So like it's a completely different, I like that I literally cannot talk to my wife about my business. I mean, on the broad strokes and like, hey, everything good? Yeah, sure. Like, or whatever. But cause we don't talk about like, if it's 9:00 or we're watching a movie,
Yeah, I would say the downside to the way that we would do it is that we can talk about real estate at any given time. Like it can interrupt anything.
Yeah, no.
It can interrupt anything.
Yeah.
Right? So like
did you get that contract signed? Or
yeah, exactly. Not the time. Not the time. Or, I would say the pros are she understands. So if somebody's like, yeah, I'm ready to sign, and we're like, this is $60,000 profit. She's like, out, right? Go and hunt, right? Go and kill. The cons are we're always thinking about it. So like we're on vacation, we're thinking about it. And sometimes that's the best time to like pull away and like, and I would say that we have become closer because of it, but like there's no right way for everyone to do this. And there are tons of pros to being a married couple doing this, but then I also talk to people that are like, I can't work with a spouse, but I don't have that.
I think that from an outsider, from like me not having a spouse that's in real estate, I think that the couples that are both in it can go you can go faster, like, cause you're a team, you have a dedicated, basically a ride or die teammate that's like gets it. That also they're not clocking out at 5, right?
Right.
The downside, that's the con, is that you could be at Thanksgiving dinner and you're asked about if a contract gets signed or, but
we had people, it's funny you even say Thanksgiving, like there was a deal we ended up making, I think like 93,000 on, and it was the day before Thanksgiving. My in-laws are in here. Everyone's kind of gathering and kind of that like official beginning of Thanksgiving. Like we're not sitting down to a meal or anything, but like, it's now like 5:30, 6:00 at night. Somebody calls up and is like, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, I knew this was too good where I'm like, I'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
And I'm clocking in at 6:30 at night to go get it done on a Wednesday night, before Thanksgiving. Like we turned off, everything. We're clocked out, we're checked out, but like duty calls. And then next thing you know, I'm like, I'll see y'all later.
And there's pros and cons, and there's no right answer. It's whatever works for you.
But you do a good job, I think, more than the average individual, of just like cutting things off at a certain time. And like, do you even have 2 phones? Like, do you have?
Yes, this is a true story. I have 2 phones, and this is like right hand. One of my phones, I literally don't know the phone number to. If you put a gun to my head and said $1 million, tell me the phone number. I'd probably get like 3 of the numbers right. But like, So only like 7 people have that number. My wife, my parents,
Okay.
like, I think maybe my kid's school.
Okay.
And then no one else. So like my other phone is my work phone, and that's the number I give out to everybody. That's the number. And it's like, if that number calls, whatever your office hours are, I don't have set office hours,
Right.
but I literally set that phone down, or if I want to go take a walk or go hike, that phone stays in the car, whatever. And that has helped me big time, because I love that I literally don't know the number. So like I can't give you the number that I always have. So only like 6 people can call me.
It's a good way to check out.
Yeah. And it's almost like a roadblock where like, yeah, I can't just turn it on vibrate. I mean, I can, but people can't. I don't even know the number.
It's something that people always talk about, because there was a post the other day where I saw on Facebook where someone said like, how do you feel about people texting you at odd hours? And I'm like, if you're my friend and you want to talk about friend stuff, if you're my family member and you want to talk about family member stuff, 24/7. But like, if we're work associates in some regard, if this is related to business, like, show some respect. Like, right? Like, show some respect. Like, if you want to talk about, ask me questions, how many square feet is that house? Business hours.
Yeah. And there's different, and people have different seasons too, or like, if you really have to get through a tough season in your life, or maybe you're just starting out and you need to really make and hustle for a couple months or 6 months or a year. And like, I would say answer your phone all the time, or like have the conversation. And like, but I think, for what I mentioned, I'm more in like the team building phase. So I look like, in my head, and this is not perfect, but if I am forced to answer my phone all the time, then I'm messing up. I failed somewhere where my team can't handle it. Of course, if it's a 911 emergency,
sure,
people can text me. Like, my foreman has my real phone number, and he can text me like 911 if like something crazy is going on.
Right. House is on
yeah,
fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this is
obviously
life or death.
Yeah. But other than that, like, it can wait. Doesn't matter. And then if I have to answer my phone all the time, I think I failed my business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Trevor Mock, I think, calls it like being like either out of cycle, or like basically like off kilter. Like, we're entering a season potentially of like, I need to devote an unusual amount of energy to this. And some business are seasonal, right? If you're an accountant, January 1 to April 15th sucks, right? You're off balance, right? Relative to when you would be in August, right? Like, those things are different. And I think our business can tend to do that. There's a seasonality to it. It gets slower in December, but then we've had really good Decembers as well. So like, I don't know if just we're dealing with a super cycle right now where it just felt like election cycle all the way to the first was a little bit slower.
What do you think? What do you think housing is going to do in the next year? Residential housing.
I just think a Trump administration is such a black swan that like just depends on the day. Like, if I was a betting man, I would say that interest rates will come down a little bit, but not a lot of it. How much will that really impact demand for housing? I don't know. I think it's a lot of this stuff remains very regional. They saw much higher increases, and so they're going to see a little bit more stabilization. So like, if you take a Phoenix, certain parts of Florida, anywhere near the coast that's seeing massive increases in insurance costs, they're going to see some suppression, regardless of what interest rates do, right? If it costs you 5x to insure something, like, it's going to be tougher to maintain affordability there. So I think we're going to start seeing other factors at play. And what I really also see too is that we're going to be running into an insurance crisis very shortly. We're not talking about it yet. And depending on where you live, we are talking about it, right? I've got friends in Louisiana and Mississippi that don't even live anywhere near the coast that are seeing 3x, 4x, 5x what they paid for insurance. So that means their mortgage goes from $1,200 to $1,400 to $1,600 to $2,000.
Who do you think that's, if they're landlords, do you think that's going to be passed down to?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but even then, like, you're talking about somebody's grandma, you're talking about, that she bought a affordable house. It was $800 all in. And she says, with my Social Security, I can definitely afford this and still have a little bit left over. And then it went to $1,100, and then it went to $1,300. And so she's like, I got to sell. But here's the thing. This is Louisiana and Mississippi, some of the most suppressed pricing in the country. Where are they going to go? So it's not like, just move to a different city or move to a different state. We live in Virginia, where like, it's not the most expensive housing market in the world, but it's not the cheapest by any means.
Yeah, we're
So-
like perfect middle ground.
Right. So if you wanted to save money, you go to North Carolina, you go to Texas, you go to, you could go to Mississippi and have 4 times the house that you have here. You have that option. What if you're from Mississippi? Where to? Another country? Like that's not a reasonable answer, right? So I think that becomes a crisis. I think we're still going to see prices go up as long as there's not enough new construction. There's just not enough inventory to be replaced. It's going to continue to remain a seller's market. But there's still going to be I don't think it may slightly impact this, but I think we're going to see what we do continue to be able to provide value. Because you mentioned it earlier, like the earth is trying to take everything back. That's going to continue. It doesn't matter what interest rates are doing, so like a house being completely consumed by moisture and time will continue to happen. 80-year-old houses are going to continue to be rotted away. Anything made of wood is going to continue to rot regardless, so I think there will always be a place for off-market purchasing. People may try to change laws and do things and do whatever, but like there will always be value in buying something off-market.
Yeah, it's
regardless of what certifications.
And it's necessary because, like I said, we buy stuff that a lot of times we deal in stuff that a lot of times banks won't finance
all day.
So there's I would argue. There's probably more off market. Absolutely, and there's more off market deals than you think on market deals. I would on used housing. I wonder what that statistic is. I bet there is more off market transactions than new, but not new construction. So what I'm saying is I'd be curious about that.
I have no idea on the data on that. So maybe we'll post something up, but probably not. So anybody wants to comment and give us some of that data so that we can share it with the rest of the class, that would be fantastic.
Curious.
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
So as you grew a team, as your portfolio's grown, where do you see things going from here?
For me personally?
Yeah.
I want to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm doing more transactional stuff this year. So I'm going to slow down on acquisitions of long-term holds a little bit. I'm still buying. I'll always be buying. But I think I'm like 2 years into a 5-year plan. And if it takes me, so I have 3 years, I'm trying to accomplish what I want to accomplish in the next 2 to 3 years. And if it takes me an extra year or two, I'm going to be not hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm in kind of housing school right now. I know it sounds silly, but I love learning about the housing and how all it works and how with the people and stuff like that. I really want to check housing for profit off and maybe one day go into like nonprofit housing.
Okay.
So that's like so I'm in affordable housing now and I see the sides of it. Like remember I said about like the education side and how does that work? I would love to, and even work with the government. I'd love to work. There's so many federal dollars and stuff like that. And I'd like to be the connector of like, if I understand how affordable housing works and the people that need affordable housing understand their point too, not, like how can we do that to help people too? Cause transparency, I have wife and kids and I want to provide for them and stuff like that. So I want to like kind of check that off where I feel more comfortable and then I can go off in my second career is what I look at it. So that's my.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of those things, guys, where you could see that like he's already got it written down. He's already got a 5-year plan. Like you're well into it. You're succeeding. I mean, you're genuinely crushing it. I mean, and I know like we tend to be like kind of a game to see who can be more humble, but you're really doing well. That it's just, we've been incredibly impressed by the growth that you made and just the willingness that you have to share.
Yeah.
So I absolutely see you crushing it in the nonprofit space as well.
Yeah, appreciate
and there's a demand for that. So the more people that know what they're doing, getting into that, because unfortunately, just like any business, we see people getting into the nonprofit space that don't know what they're doing, that are treading water forever. And it's like anything else. There are some nonprofits that succeed and some that just kind of simmer for a while and nothing really ever takes off. So having that experience and having that background will go a long way. Where do you see the real estate market going? I know you asked me that earlier.
I see it. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I see that I don't see houses getting any more affordable. I think that this might be, somewhat of a controversial statement, but I do see, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen the next year, but I see something in the next 5 years or so to be some more type of like UBI, universal basic income, that'll help subsidize a lot of that, whether it be like more housing value. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think it's going to be an expansion of Section 8, but like, I think there's going to be, you go to the grocery store and a bag of groceries is $75. And I'm like, what the heck? And like, I see, being in affordable housing, it hurts people. So I think and the government just keeps printing money and printing money. I don't see them stopping. I see the housing prices continue to go up. Just like what you said, my only like change that does involve housing or involves capital is some type of government subsidized. So people, cause we're having a homelessness epidemic, a housing epidemic. That's where I see like it's going to continue to go up, but it's also going to be driven by some type of federally supported income.
And that's the piece where like, this is like, people are like, oh, it's simple. And I'm like, there's so many different variables, some of which we haven't even conceived of. It's everything from interest rates to, how easy it is for people to get grants, where you give those grants, like specific parts of the country. You mentioned Petersburg and like there's a casino opening up. What impact does that have? Is that going to double the cost of housing in Petersburg? We don't know. Does it kind of stay flat and then there's just a nice casino there, right? I think Danville ran into the same thing. Like they've built a casino out there. Is Danville flourishing? Sorta, right? Sorta. I mean, is it going gangbusters? I don't know. But I'm sure that's impacting the cost of housing. But federally, interest rates haven't done anything to compensate for that.
And I'll say this. I think that last thing I'll say about it is that houses in 2025, houses over 500K, 600K could definitely go down because they're almost a luxury. But like that Class C house, I'm dealing in like the smallest 900 square foot houses. Yeah. Those are they're not going to go down because they're like, I mentioned it's like what I do is like the Honda Civic of housing. It's like Honda Civic's basic bare bones. It's just going to work. It's not going to like, it's the luxury things can go down, but the middle priced housing and below is going to continue to slightly rise.
So for someone that's like, I'm attracted to the Section 8 or affordable housing / Section 8, what are some of the things that like people need to be really aware of that can really trip you up? I know you said you like the inspections, but like there are some people that like really get scared by that. Like what does that include?
A traditional Section 8 inspection is just make sure it's safe. Like there's no sharp things, broken glass, stuff like that. They're real big on energy efficiency, making sure like all the doors, like the exterior doors shut, you can't see any daylight because, paying for heat and stuff like that. Faucet doesn't leak. They're real big on like like efficiency of water and air. That's really it. And it's a safety inspection. It's like you don't have nails sticking out of the wall, like, cause 90% of them have kids, or actually maybe 95%. So, and like, I want somebody to go in there, it's an inspector that, they're checking the tenant too, like making sure they're not cockfighting in the living room or something. They might lose their voucher, like it's a good thing.
I feel like that was a overly specific example where you're like, we had 3 that we lost.
No, we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't had that before, but
I did buy a house that did have a cockfighting facility in the back once.
Oh
yeah.
I mean,
and from like decades past, but like, so it wasn't like earlier that day.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's nothing, Section, it's not really gonna, in real estate, one of my favorite books is, was it The Psychology of Money? Talk about margin of safety or room for error. And all that really means is save money. If you're in real estate, have extra capital saved. And that means different things to different people, but things are going to happen.
What are you seeing people do wrong in that space?
In Section 8?
Or affordable housing, Section 8, either one.
I think deferred maintenance is the number one thing. And I'll admit that when in my journey first started out, I mean, I think you buy a house and like the tenant, like they're way under the rent, and they just keep, they just let it go, but because nobody bothers them. but then they go in there and the house is completely destroyed. Basically that, like, and that's a bad sign. You need to have market-ish rents. You can be under market, which is great, but that's the biggest. So you accidentally turn into slumlords. That's how a lot of slumlords are born, is they don't realize it. But what happens is you inherit a tenant, maybe market rent's $1,000. They're paying $600. And it's kind of like nobody's asked, nobody tells. Like they're paying their rent because it's only $600, but they're not requiring maintenance calls because they don't want you to come in there, because if you fix something, you're gonna have to raise the rent up, which makes sense, right? And then what happens is you accidentally become a slumlord because you're just kind of turning a blind eye because they're paying rent, but it's cheap. They're not calling your maintenance. You get the point.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things.
How often are you inspecting these things?
Well, Section 8 requires a yearly inspection. And then we do, I would say, once or twice a year.
Okay.
I mean, that's for Section 8. Not most of my stuff is actually not Section 8, but it is. I mean, we do a fair amount of Section 8.
Okay. So for those that want to learn more about what you're doing and want to keep in touch with you, what's the best way for somebody to find you online?
Probably Instagram, or I mean, if you Google my name, or last name is Becsi, or if you Instagram, Learn, Love, Prosper. Okay. That's probably mine.
That's your handle, Learn, Love, Prosper. Okay. And then how would you, for somebody that wants to get in contact with you, how do you typically like to be approached about this? Like what do you want people to reach out to you for? Like, what are your needs?
I'm always looking for capital, of course. I like having conversations around capital. I like helping people. That's how we got, a lot of times how we got educated and stuff, is like the people above us, like trickled down, shared the knowledge. So I'm open for, people can DM me or have conversations. I kind of tell people, obviously I don't even know one of my own phone numbers, so I don't, talk on the phone a ton, but like, I'm always good for most of the time a 5 or 10 minute conversation or a DM or something like that. Okay. I want to help. So
cool. Well, Brandon, thank you for being one of the talented investors that share. We certainly do appreciate you. You've been a friend to us. You've been a friend to the Richmond, Petersburg, Rocky Mount, North Carolina area. So thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
And continue to follow us on Facebook, Talented Investors That Share on Facebook. Right now, we're a group 8,600 strong and growing. So guys, we appreciate you, and feel free to join us and share what's going on in your world as we share what's going on with you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening to the Talented Investors That Share podcast. Please share this with other talented investors on YouTube, your favorite streaming platform, and on Facebook at the Talented Investors That Share group. That's the best way to get your questions answered, network with other investors, and just get to know everybody better and learn.
Yeah, guys, for real. This is all he's got. So please do it.
I mean, that may be true, but did you have to put it like that?